So what is going on, everybody? Welcome back. And in this video, I want to explain calc in CSS, and calc is another function in CSS, just like var was, right? So this function allows us to access the values of variables. Similarly, calc, if you can think about it from the name, allows you to have computations in CSS on the runtime. And that is again pretty cool feature because you can do pretty funky stuff with that. So let's just go ahead and take a look at how we can make this happen. We have an h1 on the page. So I'm going to give it an h1 right here. And I'm going to say that the font size of this h1 is, let's say, 35 pixels, which is sort of not so, exciting. Let's give it a 48 so that we can at least see that it's increasing. All right. So this is that. But what you can do with calc is that, how about we try to set this as a dynamic value? Now with calc, if I go ahead and do something like, hey, calculate this, set this to, let's say, 32 pixels, but also add, 2 view width to it. So now what's really happening is that if you scale up the screen, if you could observe, the font size is actually increasing. Let me just go ahead and push this factor to 10, for example, then it might be more observable. So if I increase the size of the screen, you could see that the text size increases, right? And if I decrease the size of the screen, you can see the text size actually decreases. Now it does not really follow the sort of ratio of the screen width with the actual text it should be, but you get the idea. And now if I go ahead and open this actually in a new tab, what we're going to see is that I could pretty much do the similar thing here, right? So it decreases, it increases. And if you go ahead, and this is just a neat little trick, we'll discuss this more in the Chrome DevTools course, which is again on the website itself. But if you go to the computed section, you're going to see, not really computed. Yeah. So you're going to see the font size right here is 41.1 at the moment. Now, if I go ahead and increase this, you can see the font size changes dynamically. So you are actually computing it with the help of, 2 different units, which is not really possible if you're using something like this. It's just an invalid value. So calc allows you not only to do computations in the same unit. I mean, you could technically do like 32 pixel plus 10 pixel, but it's not of any use if they are in the same units, right? Because then you could just probably write 42 pixels itself. You want to do calculations when there are different units involved. So anyway, you get the idea that you can use calc like this. Another thing which you can do with calc is that you can use them with variables. So what you can do is you can go ahead and say something like standard font size and give it like 20 pixel or something. And then you can put like h1 to be, font size to be like calc, then variable value of standard font size times 2, right? Or, whatever you want. So now if I go ahead and try to use this variable right here, what you're going to see is that this is actually 40 pixels, right? So if I go ahead and refresh this page, we're going to see that the h1 right here, and actually you need to have var here, obviously. And there we go. So now if I go ahead and take a look at computed, you're going to see the font size is 40 pixels, which is exactly what we observed, right? And if you wanted to have like a P font size right here and give it like a 1.5 multiplication, then you can go ahead and give this to a body, right? So again, pretty cool thing if you want to control everything at a single place and at the same time just make your life much more easy. So now you can see that the body right here has a font size of 30 pixels because you can see 20 times 1.5 is obviously 30. So that is that. So yeah, I mean, it makes your life much more easy. You can also divide if you want, and division would also work fine. This just dropped it to 10 pixels. So you can go ahead and see now that if you see your h1 right here, it's actually 10 pixels. So there's that. One thing you have to pay close attention to is that when you are using addition and subtraction with calc, make sure you put a space in between. Let me just show you what I mean by that. So let's say I am having a calc of, let's say, 20 pixel, 30 pixels plus 2 EM, right, as the units. So let me just go ahead and refresh this right here. And you can see right here, it works just fine. We get a 90 pixel output. Now, if I go ahead and just remove the space, sort of, what's going to happen is that if you go to the style, you're going to see that this is an invalid property value. And the reason for that is that addition and subtraction expects to be separated by white space. Why? Because this gets translated as plus 2 EM, and that means there is no operator between 30 pixel and plus 2 EM, right? Oops. So if you go ahead and give it another plus right here, then also it will work. Why? Because the earlier was sort of like equivalent to this, right? That means there is no operator between them. So you always want to give a space in front of and before after the operator. And this is like only valid and only required for plus and minus. It is not required for division, to be honest, but it could sort of like be a good habit, right? So if you have like 30 pixel by 2 right here, if you just go ahead and, you know, not give a space, it'll still work, but it's just a good practice because, you know, it'll just make your CSS consistent. So there's that. So this is like another thing which I thought was important you guys should know. So yeah, that's pretty much it with calc. It's a super interesting property. You can hack your way around with widths and heights here and there. But yeah, if you're using it, I would say like try to figure out the reason, because if it is a simple use case like layouts or something, and if the layout is also, you know, very standard or typical, chances are you don't really need calc, right? And if you're using, it's fine. I mean, the support is quite good right now, but yeah, it's still not 100%, right? So yeah, there's that. That's all. So that's all for this video. I'm gonna see you in the next one really soon.